Security in Action by Satyam Mishra. Please welcome him. Over to you, Satyam.
Hey, hello everyone. Uh, Welcome to this session of ColdFusion Security in Action. Briefly about me, I am Satyam Mishra and I am a computer scientist with ColdFusion team here in Adobe since last 7 years. And I have worked in areas like performance monitoring toolset, server performance improvements, and primarily I look into the security of ColdFusion. So all the security updates that you might have seen in last couple of years, I have worked in all of them. Okay. Moving to the agenda of this session, we will talk about the top 10 vulnerabilities of OWASP and how they can be implemented, injected in cold fusion. So I will show you some of the live demos that how these vulnerabilities can be injected in cold fusion application servers. Then what are the defenses, some of the advanced defenses that we have provided in recent updates, and some of the legacy cold fusion security defenses which have been there for some time now. At the end, there will be Adobe's role and commitment to security section. So moving to the first section about OS, so it's a open worldwide application security project. So it's a non-profit foundation that comes up with guidances and security good practices every year. Uh, Regarding, they also come up with a list of top vulnerabilities that have impacted uh, the application, enterprise application, mobile application in couple of years. So the top 10 vulnerability list of 2021 we will be referring to toward in this whole session because it relates directly to enterprise software applications. In 2022 we have a list on mobile applications, so that's not something very specific to us. Okay, you can see A1 to A10. This is the ranking based on the amount of impact and number of vulnerabilities that have been detected in a couple of years that OS has summarized and put it in a ranking order. So we'll talk about advanced security features in Cold Fusion. These are the some security features that we have given in progressively in updates and that we want people to use to mitigate vulnerabilities in their application and remain secure. So most of the us must agree to this that security is not one man task. It is not wholly or solely Cold Fusion platform team that we can completely make your application secure. So it's like every person's task from development to deployment to platform that we all remain mindful of security features. We'll talk about cryptographic failure. This is comes in second rank in OS top 10 vulnerability. So as you can see in the picture, Miss X and Miss Y, they are having telephonic conversation, and some hacker sitting in between has put a hook in the network and is able to listen to their their communication. So why this is happening? Because whatever packets are flowing into the network are not encrypted. So if we can somehow encrypt our packets in network layer, someone, even if they get hold of our packets, our communication, they won't able to listen to what exactly we are talking. So in software context, SSL and TLS are the best practices that we follow in network encryption. Encrypted data over network flows if our server is running over SSL, and generally the protocol changes from HTTP to HTTPS. Not generally, all the time protocol will be changed to HTTPS if our server is running on SSL, and it will prevent us from network spying or someone trying to tap our communication in between. How Cold Fusion mitigates this vulnerability? In 2025, we have come with a section in administrator called SSL certificate in server settings. So not only you can create a SSL certificate using this feature that we have given, you can also import if you have any existing certificate that you have generated. So by importing your certificate or creating a new SSL certificate, you can ensure that your ColdFusion server and all applications like administrator are running over SSL layer. I'll also try to bring this point. The other products that we have like CCS, PMT, and data store that we ship with PMT, all of these applications are SSL compliant, and you can run your all these applications over SSL. Coming to the next section called which is rank 3 in OS top 10 scope injection. Uh, this is a widely discussed topic when we released an update in 2024, I guess, where we told people that by default unscoped variable won't be able to fetch their values. The values can't be searched, just to mitigate this vulnerability called scope injection. So scope injection is when we have multiple scopes and we have variables in different scope, and if somehow someone is able to manipulate a value of variable of another scope through one scope, this is scope injection. This can lead to something called scope collision, variable collision. So you know that your variable is in a client URL scope, but through form scope you are trying to change the value of that variable. So these are some manipulations that can happen. I'd also like to point out that the changes that we did to mitigate this was a breaking change and led to many legacy application broke because of it. But it was necessary because we had multiple vulnerabilities where the hackers were able to perform some serious stuff like remote code execution, and then file injection, and then file corrupt they could do, and all those things. A bit about implicit scope. So in ColdFusion, we have this six scope called CGI, URL, form, cookie, CF file, and client scope. These are some scope in which the users of applications can inject value. So they are more vulnerable, and so have we have put a cap on that that they should be scoped properly. Scope hijacking mitigation that we gave, the first and the foremost is scope your variable. If there are unscoped variable that have been working in your application for some long time, we wanted people to scope them. Just because it was a breaking change and a lot of effort might have been required to mitigate it, we gave so just to give some time buyout, some time to people, we gave came up with a JVM flag called ColdFusion.search implicit scope, which by default remains false. But if you make it true in your JVM argument, so your scope resolution will happen as it used to happen before in ColdFusion. We also have an application attribute search implicit scope equal to false by default. You can also use that at application level. Just to minimize some more impact and to help people to mitigate this, we came up with a patch. It is located in this URL that is there on the screen, the last one. This patch, if you put in your application and run it, it forms a log file which looks something like this. So a log file called unscope.log gets formed, and it says that this particular test app application has a CFM called scope underscore testing 1.cfm, and it has an unscoped variable which is currently fetching its value from this particular scope. So making it very easy for you that you have a list of all your unscoped variables and you can go and scope them. There is a small demo also how scope injection could be injected in ColdFusion. So this is a CFM, simple CSFM, which takes a checkbox. If you check it and click it, so it makes a variable is admin equal to true at the backend. So basically, in form scope, I am expecting value from this checkbox, and if we click on this button, I get the content of my etc conf here. So if I uncheck it, I won't get it. But what if someone knows that there is a variable called is admin equal to true in form scope and try to inject it from URL? So currently he is not able to get the value of that etc conf file. I'll go to my application file, and my variables are scoped. I will just unscope them. On unscoping, if I am now sending the variable is admin equal to true from URL scope, and scope injection has happened, and etc conf is readable now through URL scope. Yeah, second option we have that in application scope, search implicit scope will make it false, and this will also prevent us, and scope injection won't happen. So we have two options to prevent scope injection: scope your variable, the best one, and also keep this flag by default false. Moving back to our presentation, the first rank that OWASP has this vulnerability called file system access. Basically, what it tells that unintended, basically unauthorized person is able to read or write some of your files from your server. So they might be administrator of some kind, but they are not authorized to read those files. So this is the rank one vulnerability in OWASP top 10 vulnerability. To mitigate it, we came with a file called partfilter.json. So we implemented it in one of the update last year. So partfilter.json currently looks like this. Uh, Currently, for it is implemented just for bytecode, basically execution path and scheduler. So here you have to exactly whitelist and blacklist your path if you want to basically read something from these file paths. I'll explain it in a better way. So byte execution path says that there are some pre-compiled CFM that have been running on your ColdFusion server. So what hackers did, they compiled some of the CFMs from other JVM languages, and somehow they injected in ColdFusion, and they were also able to execute that pre-compiled CFM. So in order to mitigate it, we brought a key called bytecode execution path in pathfilter.json, where now if you want that in your system, in your server, some pre-compiled CFM should run, you have to whitelist that path against this key. Okay, so this is also breaking change, because we somehow got to know that there are people who have pre-compiled code, they don't have the source code, and they are running it. So to so that the original behavior can return, and people get some time to whitelist their path, we came with JVM flag called coldfusion.compiler.block.bytecode. Okay, this path filter.json, I'll talk a bit about it. It's a highly extensive. You can whitelist whole folder, whole subdirectory, or whitelist only one particular file within a subdirectory with a negate sign. If you use it is a blocking path, it's like you have want to block that particular folder and path. Okay, so I'll also show you basically how in scheduler this was a vulnerability and how we mitigated it. So in ColdFusion Administrator, if I go to schedule task, I have a schedule task here already running. I'll edit it. This schedule task basically makes a periodic call to adobe.com, and whatever response it gets, we are saving it to this file in our system. Now what researchers did, they put here the file path of some of our system configuration files. So the moment some response came, our system files got overridden, and server got crashed. Okay, so now with this mitigation in pathfilter.json, until unless system administrator does not whitelist any particular path, that path won't work here. Okay, it will tell you, give you an error that this particular path is not whitelisted. I'll just show it. I'll submit it. It will say, okay, it's not valid directly, but it will say that you have not whitelisted this particular path in pathfilter.json. So currently pathfilter.json have been extended to car migration in last update also. So if you take the latest update, this pathfilter.json also takes care of car migration from where you are able to, picking your car file, and also what files you are including in your car. Those files should be whitelisted. I am very sure this file is going to become bigger in future, because the vulnerability it is mitigating is one of the topmost, basically rank one vulnerability on OS, and multiple features need protection from this one. We'll talk about data integrity failure. So it is in rank 8 of OS top 10 vulnerability. So what basically serialization and deserialization talks about. So whenever we give an input as an object to a serializer, it gives us a packet, binary packet that can be transmitted easily to a network or can be persisted on your hard disk. Okay, so serializer will give you some output like JSON, XML, VDEX in case of ColdFusion, and then again when you give this as input to deserializer, you get back your object. Why it is vulnerable? Because it's all about data, and data can be manipulated. Data could have some vulnerability along with it. So whenever because deserializer gives back you an object, the object can have some functions, malicious functions, which when invoked can do a lot of work. Okay, so we'll talk more about VDEX deserialization, because ColdFusion has an inbuilt deserializer called VDEX deserializer. So we deal with VDEX packet, which looks primarily like this in the right side. So VDEX is something that looks like an XML in structure. It will have like variable name is this and value of variable is this, like variable name is user, value is Alice, that way. And we have a tag called cf videx. Whenever you will give action equal to videx to cfml, the deserialization will be invoked, and it will take input this videx packet, and output you will get either struct or object of any class that you have specified. We got a zero day vulnerability in this section. It's and there were multiple CBs, and we came up with a mitigation that each one of us should be aware of. So CF serial filter.txt of filter file got introduced in cold CFusion Live. So CFusion Live, this filter file you have to is currently blocking in nature. What I mean by that? So any videx deserialization that you do, and if you want an class object as an output, you have to go and whitelist that class in this particular txt file. If you don't do this, by default ColdFusion is blocking all sort of videx deserialization. Okay, we have whitelisted some of the classes which we require for ColdFusion server to run properly, and if you require it, you have to go and whitelist those things. CF serial filter.txt sits very close to videx deserializer. Basically, whenever you invoke deserialization, first of all this filter file will be checked that if you want object of this particular class, it is whitelisted or not. If it's not whitelisted at before deserialization even starts, you will get a failure. Again, this was a breaking change for legendary applications. So to just to subsidize the impact, we came up with videx.log file. So whenever some videx file deserialization gets blocked, it gets very clearly logged in that videx.log file, saying that this particular class is blocked from deserialization. This serial filter, CF serial filter, is also extensible. You can do whitelisting at package label, so that all files within the call classes within that package is whitelisted, or with negate sign you can blacklist it, and all those things. So by default, blocking all the classes and only whitelisting whatever is required, we have made ColdFusion a lot um, um, secure from this deserialization vulnerability. This I'll show you a demo how videx deserialization can impact us. Okay, so this is a normal CFM file that takes input three parameters: name, age, and a file path. I have given the file path of my etc password. Okay, it's a sensitive file for me. So when I'll click on generate videx, a videx packet will be generated. So serialization has been invoked. So videx packet looks something like this. It's a simple videx packet. It has structure like variable name is this and the value of variable name is this. Then variable name is equal to name and the value is John Doe, this way. There is another videx that packet that we have developed which tells me that whenever deserialization should happen, type equal to this class defines that I need an object of this class on deserialization, which is a vulnerable class that I have created just for demo purpose. I'll show you that class also how it looks like. Okay. Uh, when I'll invoke basic Videx deserialization, I get a struct as an output, which is correct. Now, when dangerous Videx is invoked, I get an object of vulnerable class. Uh, and it has multiple you can see multiple functions methods are there. It may look like that, okay, what's wrong with that, this is all as per design, but because I'm calling it a vulnerable class, I'll show you what it has done at in backend. Okay. So the time in my system is 9:51. I will go to pipe dream. This is a remote server, and it will show that at 9:51 a request has come to it, post request, and that post request has content of all my etc passwords. So basically this vulnerable class that was introduced in my class path somehow and was wrongly written, the moment we did deserialization, it took all my etc password content and dumped somewhere remotely. Okay. So this is how deserialization could be dangerous. uh, if you want to see how this vulnerable class looks like, so this is written just for demo purpose. Vulnerable class also has three attributes, and whenever we call deserialization, we call setter methods just to set the values. But one of the setter method, this one, is written wrongly, maliciously, and it makes a post call. So this makes it vulnerable. So there are multiple vulnerable jars. If you will just Google, you will see that multiple jars are there which are vulnerable for deserialization that way. Okay. How we can mitigate it? uh, Now we are safe, but in my cf serial filter, just for demo purpose, I whitelisted this class. If I just remove it, okay, I'll just show it. I'll remove it, this particular class from whitelisting thing from cfserialfilter.txt, and I'll restart my ColdFusion. Okay. Now I will again generate the Videx packet and now test dangerous the Videx thing, and it will say that Videx packet parse error, and there at the same time in videx.log file, you will able to see that entry has become that this particular class has been blocked from deserialization. Okay, coming back to my presentation. Java deserialization equally dangerous, actually more dangerous, needs more precaution because we are JVM based language and we are dependent on multiple OEMs for multiple things. So this also needs a lot of precaution to and handle properly. There is an interesting story for Java deserialization. In the 2015, a tool called YSO serial got created, which makes it very easy to generate serialization payload for hackers. And since 2016, there was multiple deserialization, Java deserialization issues that came in. As a precaution, Java has given us something called JVM serial filter, JDK.serial filter, but it does not makes it compulsory that I will block everything. It completely has relied upon users, app developers. What in ColdFusion we have done in our last update, we have made Java deserialization also default blocking in nature. Before it was not default blocking in nature, but we saw multiple Java jars becoming vulnerable every now and then. So we came to a conclusion that let's make it safer. And by default now, even this Java deserialization, all classes are blocked. If you need it, you have to go and whitelist it in this file called serialfilter.txt, which behaves exactly same as cf serialfilter.txt, that is for Videx deserialization. This file also resides in cfusion lib, and it has all those things like a package level whitelisting you can do, then class level whitelisting you can do, and all those things. um, how Java deserialization can impact ColdFusion. I'll show you. I will go to my data source page, and below there are two data source I have configured. I'll edit and show you the config. So it's a simple MySQL database. In username, I have given something like this: deserialize cb open dot. So open dot is a command in Mac or Linux that will be opening the current folder. So this, and in my connection string, a, a very I won't say vulnerable, but some connection string that should be used with a lot of precaution. If you go to MySQL document, you will see about it. Auto deserialize. Uh, it takes use of this class called server status diff interceptor. It's a vulnerable class. Uh, so this with connection string and username open dot. If I just submit it, open dot got executed, and my so you can see C fusion bin folder got opened up. So basically remote code execution could happen with this, command execution can happen with this, even though you are getting some error that this database you could not add or something. So two level of protection we have given for this type of vulnerability. First of all, now from last 2 3 updates we have worked about on connection string. So connection string now not any random connection string you can add in your database. You have to go and whitelist that particular connection string in a JVM argument. It's something called coldfusion.datastores.allow connection string equal to auto deserialize. Then only this will work. And secondly, uh, you can't just basically serial filter.txt will block the deserialization of this particular class. So until unless system admin go and whitelist this particular class, jdbc.interceptor.server status diff interceptor, this deserialization won't work and this vulnerability is mitigated. The second last data source is also something a demo for how this deserialization is can impact ColdFusion. So I'll edit it. In if you see the username, I have given something like file read this and the file path of a local config file, my server config file. So and connection string that I am using is allow load local in file. So this is a connection string that MySQL provides, which allows files to get transferred from your client side to server side. Okay, and MySQL talks about it that it should be used with a lot of precaution, and generally by default it is false in MySQL database client and server side. Okay, so when I am giving this as username and this as connection string, I'll show you how file gets transferred in my system. Both server and client are on same machine, but okay. So this is my place where my server is residing, MySQL fake server. So it is empty currently. But the moment I'll submit it, it says that data source cannot be created that way. But the file cfserial.filter.txt has got transferred from ColdFusion application to MySQL database site. Okay. So this is the level of basically vulnerability that can happen if we don't use our serial filters properly. And also MySQL talks about it that app developer, whenever they are using MySQL databases, they should be very they should take precaution that they are adding legitimate server SSL based MySQL server should be only added, and those particular things we should take care. Okay, coming back to my presentation. So after we have after last update that we did, security update, we have blocked completely deserialization by default. We are a lot safe from this vulnerability. Okay, these were some of the filter files that we have given in our updates in last 1 year, 1.5 years. Now we'll also talk about core security safeguards in ColdFusion. What are the legacy safeguards that have been provided? They are something that must be used in production servers. So lockdown installer comes the first one. So it's like putting a lock on your server. Whenever your server ColdFusion server configuration is done, your connector setup is done, lockdown installer should be downloaded and it should be run. It takes care of a lot many security features that is mentioned in lockdown doc guide. So some of the things like it will change the permission of your files and directories. It will create a runtime user with very less permissions and alias it will create and all those things. But very important, and all prod servers should have lockdown installer. In fact, I'll tell you that whenever some hackers or researchers come to us with some bug, we ask them if they tested it on lockdown or not. If it's not tested on lockdown, we don't consider them bug also. So, lockdown guide is basically a number of steps, more than 40, 50 steps, I think, that you have to generally manually run on your server and each server instances. So, installer saves your time because it will run it all those steps automatically and quite error free. And if some error comes, it roll back server to the original state and you will get installation logs and all those things. Second one is sandbox. Sandbox is also basically it's a very generic term in security and across all languages. What we do that we divide our server in different small sandboxes packets so that if any one packets get compromised or some wrong has happened, other packets remain a bit safe. So every packets has their own domain, what code running there can do and how much reach they have. Okay, so isolation of services are there, restricted permissions are there. So if you go in ColdFusion administrator security tag, just with one click, a couple of clicks, you can implement sandbox on different folders and databases, tags level, all those things are there. User management, what good practice say that you should have multiple users with different level of roles and permissions. Not every user, not any one user should have all kinds of roles and permissions. Okay, so that distribution of roles and permissions and should be there. So in the security tab, you have user manager where you can create users, different users, and also now with external authentication, LDAP and SAML that has been introduced. Makes more login authorization authentication more secured. IP protection page again is there in ColdFusion administrator page. So it makes sure that what IPs have access to your administrator, some of the internal directories and some of the exposed services. So by default, IP administrator protection page remains default, means it does not block anything. All IPs are allowed. The moment you put any one IP there, it acts like blocking in nature and it won't allow any other IP other than that IP to have access to these things. Okay, so you also have option to whitelist a range of IPs, then range of host names, all those things. This is how that IP protection page looks like. Secure profile, one of my most favorite uh, security page that we have in ColdFusion Administrator. Basically, it takes care on your behalf that you don't go and make each of the configuration true false that way. It's a list of security good practices settings that are there in ColdFusion, and just with a checkbox you tick it, and all those settings get applied to your ColdFusion server. So this is a must thing because it requires just one checkbox to enable it. Okay, so and it takes care of a lot of many settings. So I have put here a lot many settings. These settings get applied the moment you just enable secure profile in your administrator. Okay. A bit about encryption algo. This is also one of the changes that we have done in one of our latest updates. I think 2 3 updates back. Uh, So we talked about initially how network encryption is required. This encryption is mainly about how data encryption at app level is done. So encryption requires two things: secret key and one algorithm. The more complex algorithm you have, and the more complex secret key you have, the more difficult it becomes to break your encrypted data. So OS defines that any algorithm which is uh, does not use 256-bit level algo is not very safe. So previously default algorithm that we provided was CFMS compact. It was inbuilt algorithm of ColdFusion team, but it was 32-bit only. So in our update, we changed the default algo for some of these functions like encrypt binary, even random and hash algorithm, and we made it default to AES 256-bit algorithm, making it safer. But it's again a breaking change because people have encrypted data that they have stored. So just for time being, to buy out some time, they can use this JVM flag, Cold Fusion encryption dot use CFMS compact as default. Uh, okay. We'll talk a bit about XSS, cross-site scripting, one of the most notorious and that always remains in OWASP vulnerability list. Uh, Wherever basically you have input fields in your application, some amount of code can be injected through those input fields, and if those code gets executed, so you are in danger. uh, so XSS protection is there in Cold Fusion administrator. Enable global script protection, it should be enabled. If you are using secure profile, it will be enabled. Secure profile will take care of it. Now some amount of responsibility comes to app developer also. They should encode everything that they output, all CF output and write output that they do, and whatever values get come to browser, that should be encoded, so that browser treats them as a string and not as a code. XSS demo also. So this is simple CFM page. I have this input field which says enter your name, and that name will should be output basically. So I'll inject the JavaScript code here, and that code gets executed. So basically it is XSS vulnerable, proper encoding is not done. The same if I go and see the secure version where I have used this encode for HTML thing. If I put here my JavaScript code, simple browser output it as a string and does not get executed. So it can lead to a lot many things. Means I have some payloads, and XSS payloads are very easily available even in Google. This I'll show you. This is like cookie stealing payload. I'll put it here and submit it. uh, I have another page that tells me that how what cookie has been stolen. So this particular cookie just now got stolen from my browser. Okay. So the only and best way to avoid accesses is to encode things. Some of the things that we have provided in administrator are like in CF output, we have an attribute called encode for that you can always use. Other thing is like all output should be wrapped within this functions encode for HTML, encode for JavaScript that way. Uh, Also this tool we have, this is also that comes as part of VS Code builder. If you It has something called security analyzer. It's a static code analyzer. If you run it over your source code, it will tell you a list of vulnerable codes and how they can be fixed, the generic solution it gives, so you can fix them using that. It runs very good for accesses and some of the other things. Currently we track 10 types of vulnerabilities, but we are working on it, and we are trying to broaden the scope, and more tags and functions will be taken care of with this analyzer. This We'll jump to the next section. So next section tells us about what is the Adobe security commitment. So security first is the policy of Adobe. for all its product. In ColdFusion, we have given around 18 2023 updates, and around 6 updates has been already rolled out for 2025 in 6 months. We have external and internal pen testing team that keeps auditing our and testing our product. Then also Adobe has kept ColdFusion in tier 1 Adobe bug bounty program. So basically top bug bounty program of Adobe. And even you guys, it's a public bug bounty, so even you guys can register in this and try to log and get some bounties out of it. So we have given lakhs of dollars we give in this type of bug bounty programs also. This brings us to the conclusive slide. So what we took is from this session is that remain updated. Whatever update we give, um, update your system as soon as possible, and try to use the JVM arguments, and go through our documents to properly understand why those mitigations are required. Uh, uh, we must use legacy cold fusion security defenses, all those lockdown installer, sandbox, secure profile. Those are some of the best defense, first round defense that one can have in their applications. And this brings us to an end. We can move to Q&A. How to see?
Hey Satyam, there are a few questions if
Yeah,
you'd like to. Yeah,
this is one. Which one is this one? Huh?
you can see in the Q&A pod. We can go
Okay.
through that, and
Okay.
there are a few in the chat as well.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a question by Scene. Any plan for integrated Let's Encrypt certificate automation? Uh, Something I think I have to look into. I'm not sure. We don't have any plan as of now. But yeah, generally things come from community. We look into it. So I'll look into it and maybe get back. Uh, okay, the image of someone listening in one phone conversation. Yeah, it should be a man between listening to a women conversations. Correct. Earlier it was asked about incorporating. I'm not sure of the complete kind of diagram, but this is a fascinating thought. Yeah, it's a fascinating thought. We will surely look into that. Uh, can you show the slide that hide a bunch of recommended CF admin settings again? So basically, you can that's a secure profile page, Matthew. You can just log in Cold Fusion Administrator, and in settings page you have this tab called secure profile. It has all those settings listed there. But I'll try to show it at the end of this session. Share my screen and show it again. Yes, security. Michael asked that security analyzer still require RDS enabled. Yes, security analyzer still requires RDS enabled, but that's a pointer that we have in mind and we are working on that. What is in Okay. Uh, are there new security risks specifically related to AI integration? So, thing is, security is the day-to-day task we keep doing. Uh, some security vulnerabilities come in legendary features, some come in newer features, and we keep fixing them. So with new features, obviously there lies some risk, but yeah, as soon as we get aware and we have an eye on our product, we have lot many programs, people auditing, testing, bounty programs, from where we get a very alarm, means first hand uh, alarm that there is some issue and we fix it. I hope that answers BK. Bounty link, Rama Komani is asking. So you can just log in HackerOne and search for Adobe page. So all list of Adobe product will come, and in that you will get ColdFusion also. So it's just a HackerOne platform, HackerOne.com. You can go there and just search for Adobe or ColdFusion directly, and you can register in that.
So I see another question from John in the chat.
Okay.
So it says,
Okay.
does security analyzer still require RDS enabled?
Yes, I think I answered that, Apro. So RDS enable is still required. It will be required as long as we use uh, VS Code builder for this. But there are ideas that we come with CLI approach also for security analyzer in future, and I think after that that thing will go up. But yeah, until we release or make any such changes, this idea came to us from community itself. We are brooding over it, but until we use it as part of VS Code, RDS enabled will be required.
Okay, amazing. So I don't see any other questions. You do have the $50 gift card to give away. So
Apo, I think you can randomly choose and give someone.
okay, done. So I think among the participants over here, yes, not sure. I will randomly select and then give it. Okay, but thank you for today. Thank you for joining us. And this was a wonderful session. Thank you, Satyam.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was an awesome session. Thanks, everyone.